Welcome everyone. Today we're going to be doing a part 2 of our beginner's guide to Hunter Call of the Wild. Today we're going to be going over the skills and perks that I think are worth having. This way you can have an idea of what skills and perks to look for. Because like I said in my previous video, those skills and perks, you only get 22 points each. And then once you have them already bought, you'd have to go through and pay money to reset. All right, so I am back on my main account today. So we're going to go ahead and log in here on. I'll go back to Light and Light. We'll go ahead and take him out since we're standing here. And my main account, I do have the Bloodhound. So like I was saying in the first video, it do help out a lot whenever trying to track blood. So we're going to pick up this elk real quick, and then we'll go over the skills and perks. Now, all of these are just suggestions. You don't have to follow mine exact. Everyone has a different play style. So you want to kind of put your skills and perks to match your play style. Don't try to copy mine exactly. There are a few that are really important. You don't have to do every one of them exactly. So here on the skill side in the stalker section, this locate track and the tracking knowledge are probably two of the most important to get at the very beginning, because that's going to help you out a lot whenever you're looking at the animal's tracks. We'll give you a lot more information on that. Here at the tracking knowledge, it will reveal the information about the group sizes, information about the weight. The weight comes really handy whenever you're doing predators. A lot of the deer species, you're not really going to pay that much attention to max weight tracks. But when it comes to predator animals, you will pay a little more attention to that max weight track. Another big important is soft feet. Like I was saying in my previous video, the noise you make and your visibility are going to be key factors on what you can find. And if you're not able to find anything, it could be because you're either being too loud while moving around or being too visible. So getting the soft feet is definitely a big thing to get. I also like to get improvised blind. I think that does help out a lot whenever you're trying to hide. And endurance is a big one too. Because like I was saying, a lot of times when you're running around, your heart rate's going to go up. That's going to cause your shot to be off. So having that endurance to cool your heart rate down faster is definitely a big plus. All right, so I'll go ahead and leave this up here for a second, just in case you want to take a screenshot of it, just to kind of use it as an aid. Now, you don't have to follow these exactly. I do know a lot of people that like to use the weather. I've used that before in the past, before I did a reset. I've also used the harden. I used that quite a bit whenever I first started, because I was getting killed a lot by stampeding animals or hunting lions. All right, so let's go ahead and look over here at Ambusher. All right, so this one, I don't really use sense a lot, but you have to put some into it to get other tiers unlocked. The biggest two on this side, in my opinion, would be the spotting knowledge, because that's going to reveal all the information about the animal whenever you spot them. So you're going to be able to see their health. You'll be able to see if they're calm or relaxed. You'll be able to also reveal the information about their trophy rating and the weight. So that way you kind of know, once you start playing the game more, you'll start to pick up on what's the diamond trophy ratings. So whenever you spot that animal, you can kind of take an estimate guess if that could possibly be a diamond. So that might get you to slow down and take a better shot, and making sure that you get that clean shot, so that way you get the full score. Another one that I do use is the sight spotting. This is going to allow you to spot animals through your scope. So that way you're not having to switch between your binoculars and your weapons the whole time. It's very useful. So that way you're not having to switch. Saves you a lot of time. One that I did put on here was the more the merrier. The more the merrier. This one just gives you a 5% for completing missions. I do like to do the missions for all the maps, and gaining that extra money for those is always a plus. A big one that I use on this one would be the pack mule. This is going to allow you to carry more weight. Like I said in my previous video, I would suggest staying away from the backpacks, just because backpacks do increase your visibility and your sound. But I do know some people that do use the Kenai. There's quite a few people that like to use that. And that one's also a good one to haggle. You reduce the cost of everything you buy from the Outpost store. But the only problem is, to get those, you'd have to take one from the stalker and add it over here to get that tier unlocked. So it would be nice if they would do something where you could get an extra skill or a perk point. All right, so I'll go ahead and leave that up on the screen just in case you want to take a screenshot. And again, like I was saying before, these are all just suggestions. You don't have to do everything exact. I'm just trying to give you the best knowledge. So that way it helps you make your decisions. So that way you're not having to spend a lot of money resetting everything, which I've reset mine quite a bit. All right, so we're going to go here into rifle. This one is really important, as along with zeroing. Between those two, those would be the first ones I would try to go for, as well as the breath control. So whenever you're first starting out, focus on your rifle first. Try to get these 3 unlocked at least. I personally don't worry about the windage. If you're using a lot of archery, then you might want to look into that. But like I said in my previous video, I don't do a lot with archery. I do hunt a little bit with bows, but not enough to put a lot of skills or perk points into those. All right, so we're going to go ahead and go down here to handguns. So like I said before, handguns doesn't just pertain to using your pistols or your handguns. So the sprint and load, really important. So that way you're not having to stop every time you have to reload your weapon, because that's just going to take up more time, especially if you're trying to track down an animal or if you're shooting a herd. I like to use the survival instinct, especially with the new map, when you're being attacked by a lot of the water buffalo. The tigers, it won't really help because the tigers hit you, you're dead either way. But it does help out with the water buffalo some. All right, and then range just increases the gauging of the distance. That way I can tell how far the animal is out, so that way I know what to zero to. Having that range is very helpful if you're trying to sneak up on a potential trophy animal, because knowing how far out they are determines how fast you can move towards it. Because like I was saying, most animals have a spook radius of about 200 meters. So once I get to that 200-meter mark, I can start to slow down. Right, I do use the lightning hands. I use that mainly because whenever I'm doing my grinds, I think it is useful to be able to reload faster. But that one I wouldn't really worry about until you get further on. Once you start getting up to where you can do grinds, if you want to do grinds, you don't have to do grinds. But I do find it useful for that. All right, as far as the shotguns, so you do have to put one in the first one to unlock the next tier. But the biggest one for me was the recoil management, especially before the newest weapon pack came out of this year, because the 300 was a bolt action and had a lot of recoil. So having that recoil management helped out a lot with that. And it'll also help you out a lot when if you're doing any bird or duck hunting. It'll help reduce that recoil of that shotgun, so that way you're able to get a follow-up shot on another bird. Fast shouldering is pretty important too. That way you're able to shoulder the weapon faster. So that way if you do run up on something, because like I said, you're not having to take that time to draw that weapon up. But both of these I don't really do a whole lot with, because like I said, normally when I do shotguns, it's for bird hunting. I don't really use the double barrel shotgun when I'm bird hunting. I mainly just use the semi-automatic 10 gauge now. Before that, I was using the 12 gauge. And then even though I don't do archery a lot, I do have one in there just because I do use archery some. This is really helps out whenever you go to aim and draw, you're not shaking everywhere. So that helps out a little bit with that. So if anything, even if you don't do a lot of archery, I would probably recommend putting at least one in there. Just so that way, if you do want to use the bows at some point, there are some missions that require you to use a bow. So that definitely helps out a little bit too. All right. So like I said before, these are all just suggestions. You don't have to follow mine exactly. But these are what I would recommend. You can use them as kind of a reference. So that way you're not having to spend so much money on resetting all your skills and perks. Between the PC and the Xbox, I've probably reset my skills and perks probably 2 or 3 times each. I finally found one that worked for me. So like I said, this is just something that works for me. It's not going to work for everybody. But I figured I would give it as a reference for all the new players, just so that way you have something to look at and then figure out which way you want to go and which is going to work for you best. All right, but that's going to be it for our part 2 video. I'd like to thank everyone for coming out and joining me today. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for more hunting tips and gameplay. And also hit the bell icon so that way you'll be notified for all the latest updates. All right, and thank you again, and happy hunting. I'll see you next time.